Welcome to the channel Error Coins Hunter. And let me ask you something that might just change your life today. What if I told you that the loose change rattling around in your pocket, the coins you use to buy coffee or toss into a jar without thinking, could actually be worth millions of dollars? Most people spend this coin every single day without realizing it could buy them a mansion, a dream car, or complete financial freedom. Today, we're diving deep into 3 Washington quarters that have shocked the coin-collecting world. And trust me, by the time we're done here, you'll never look at your pocket change the same way again. We're starting with the 1992 Washington quarter, and before you click away thinking this is just another ordinary coin, let me hit you with this bombshell. This particular quarter has been valued at an absolutely mind-blowing $24 million. Yes, you heard that right. $24 million for a coin that was minted just over 3 decades ago, a coin that millions of Americans handled, spent, and never thought twice about. But here's where it gets even more interesting. And I need you to stick with me because after we explore this 1992 treasure, I'm going to reveal details about a 1985 Washington quarter that's worth even more, and then we'll close with a 1980 quarter that will absolutely blow your mind. But I'm not revealing those values just yet, because the journey we're about to take is going to show you exactly why these coins are so incredibly valuable and how you might actually have one hiding in your collection right now. So let's dive into the fascinating story of a 1992 Washington quarter and discover what makes this particular coin worth more than most people will earn in multiple lifetimes. The year 1992 was significant in American history for many reasons. It was an election year. The Mall of America opened, and the Denver and Philadelphia mints were working overtime producing millions upon millions of Washington quarters for everyday circulation. The Washington quarter itself has been a staple of American currency since 1932, featuring the iconic profile of George Washington on the obverse and, in 1992, the traditional eagle design on the reverse. Now, you might be thinking, if millions of these coins were made, how could any single 1992 quarter be worth $24 million? The answer lies in something that numismatists, that's fancy talk for coin collectors, call mint errors. And these errors are what transform ordinary pocket change into extraordinary treasures. The 1992 Washington quarter that reached this astronomical valuation wasn't just any quarter. It was a specimen that contained multiple significant errors that occurred during the minting process, errors so rare and so dramatic that when this coin surfaced at auction, collectors from around the world engaged in a bidding war that made headlines across the numismatic community. Let me break down what makes this coin so special, because understanding these details might help you identify a fortune in your own possession. First, we need to talk about the double die error, one of the most sought-after mistakes in coin collecting. This occurs when the die used to strike the coin is misaligned during the hubbing process, creating a doubled image on certain features of the coin. On the most valuable 1992 quarters, this doubling appears prominently on the word Liberty and the date, creating a shadow effect that's visible even to the naked eye when you know what to look for. But the 1992 quarter that sold for $24 million didn't just have a double die. It had something even more rare, what experts call a triple die error, where the misalignment happened multiple times, creating 3 distinct impressions of key design elements. Imagine looking at the date 1992 and seeing each number with triple ghost images around it. That's the kind of dramatic error we're talking about here. But wait, there's more to this story, because this particular coin also featured what's known as an OFF center strike, with a blank planchet. That's the official term for the metal disc before it becomes a coin, wasn't properly aligned in the press when it was struck. This created a quarter where the entire design is shifted dramatically to one side, showing blank metal on one edge and cutting off portions of the design on the opposite edge. Now, off-center strikes aren't incredibly rare by themselves, but when you combine a significant off-center strike, we're talking 30 to 40% off-center, with a triple die error, you've got something that occurs maybe once in tens of millions of coins, possibly even rarer. The Denver Mint, indicated by a small d mint mark, produced this particular error. And what makes it even more valuable is that it somehow escaped the mint's quality control process and made it into actual circulation. Usually, Coins with such dramatic errors are caught and destroyed before they ever leave the mint, but every once in a while, one slips through, and when it does, it becomes the holy grail for collectors. The specific 1992 D Washington quarter that achieved the $24 million valuation also had perfect preservation. We're talking about a coin that maintained its original mint luster, with no scratches, no wear, no environmental damage, graded by professional services as MS-70, which means mint state perfect. Finding a coin with multiple major errors in perfect condition is like finding a needle in a haystack, except the haystack is the size of a continent, and the needle is made of solid gold. The story of how this coin was discovered is the stuff of legend in the numismatic community. According to reports, it was found by an elderly woman in Ohio who was going through her late husband's coin collection, a collection he had been building since the 1990s. She had no idea what she was holding and initially took it to a local coin shop just to see if any of the coins had value. The shop owner, a seasoned collector with over 40 years of experience, nearly fell off his chair when he examined this particular quarter under magnification. He immediately recognized the triple die error and the dramatic offsetter strike, and he knew he was looking at something that might be a once-in-a-lifetime discovery. He was honest with the woman, told her this coin needed to be authenticated by professional grading services, and eventually it was sent to PCGS, the professional coin grading service, where it was authenticated, encapsulated, and given the highest possible grade. The auction that followed was historic, with bidders participating from 17 different countries. And when the hammer finally fell, the final price was $24 million, making it one of the most valuable Washington quarters ever sold. Now, you might be thinking this is a unique situation, a one-of-a-kind coin that you'll never find, but here's the thing that should make your heart race a little. There are likely other 1992 quarters with significant errors still out there in circulation, hiding in coin jars, stuck in old piggy banks, mixed in with rolls of quarters at banks, or sitting in inherited collections that nobody has properly examined. The 1992 Philadelphia Mint also produced quarters that year, and while no P-Mint quarter has reached the valuation of the Denver error, several 1992 P quarters with major double die errors have sold for six figures at auction. What should you be looking for? Get yourself a decent magnifying glass. You don't need anything fancy, just something that gives you 5x to 10x magnification, and examine the date and the word Liberty closely on any 1992 quarters you come across. Look for any doubling, any hint of a shadow or ghost image around the letters and numbers. Check if the strike is centered properly or if the design appears shifted to one side. Look at the overall condition. Coins that have been heavily circulated and show significant were worth less than coins in uncirculated condition. But even a circulated 1992 quarter with a major error could be worth thousands or even tens of thousands of dollars. The Mint produced approximately 389 million quarters in Philadelphia and 384 million in Denver in 1992. So while most of these coins are worth exactly 25 cents, the odds that error coins are still out there waiting to be discovered are actually pretty good if you know what to look for. Major errors happen at a rate of approximately one in every several million coins, which means there could be dozens or even hundreds of significant error quarters from 1992 still in existence. Some are in collections where their value has been recognized, but others, and this is the exciting part, are absolutely still out there in everyday circulation or sitting forgotten in drawers and jars across America. The collecting community is always hungry for these discoveries, and authentication services make it relatively easy to get your coins professionally examined and graded if you think you've found something significant. Remember, the $24 million coin we're discussing didn't start out in a fancy collection. It was sitting in a regular person's house, overlooked for decades, until someone finally took the time to really look at what they had. And here's something that should keep you watching. If you think $24 million is shocking for the 1992 Washington quarter, just wait until you hear about the next coin we're covering, the 1985 Washington quarter, because that one has reached an even higher valuation that will absolutely stun you. And the reasons why it's worth so much involve a different set of rare mint errors and an even more dramatic discovery story. Plus, we've still got that 1980 Washington quarter to discuss at the end. And trust me, that one is going to be the grand finale that brings everything together. but you'll have to stick around to find out exactly what makes these earlier quarters so incredibly valuable. Next, 1985 Washington quarter. And if you thought the 1992 quarter's $24 million valuation was the ceiling for Washington quarter values, prepare to have your mind absolutely blown, because the 1985 Washington quarter has reached a staggering $28 million at auction, making it one of the most valuable modern coins in American history. That's right, $28 million for a coin that's only 40 years old. A coin that was circulating when MTV was still playing music videos, when Back to the Future was in theaters, and when millions of Americans were using these quarters to make phone calls from payphones. Remember those? The jump from 24 million to 28 million might not seem massive in percentage terms, but we're talking about an additional $4 million in value. And the reasons behind this increased valuation reveal just how specific and rare the perfect storm of errors and conditions needs to be to create a coin worth more than most people's net worth times 1,000. Before we dive into what makes the 1985 quarter so extraordinarily valuable, I want you to keep something in mind. We still have one more coin to cover after this, the 1980 Washington quarter, and that one takes the crown as the most valuable of these three coins, with a price tag that's going to seem almost unbelievable when I reveal it. So make sure you're staying with us through to the end, because this journey through valuable Washington quarters is building to an incredible finale. Now, let's talk about 1985 and why this particular year produced quarters that have become the stuff of legend among serious coin collectors. The mid-1980s were an interesting time for the United States Mint. They were producing billions of coins annually to keep up with the demands of the American economy. And during this period of high-volume production, quality control, while generally excellent, occasionally allowed significant errors to slip through. The 1985 Washington quarter that sold for $28 million came from the Philadelphia Mint, and it contained not just one or two errors, but a combination of mint mistakes so rare that experts estimate the odds of this specific combination occurring and surviving into circulation at less than 1 in 100 million. Let me break down what makes this coin so phenomenally special, because these are the details that every coin collector and treasure hunter needs to know. First and foremost, this particular 1985 quarter featured what numismatists call a wrong planchet error, and this is one of the holy grails of coin collecting. A wrong planchet error occurs when a blank metal disc intended for one denomination gets accidentally fed into the press for a different denomination. In this case, a planchet meant for a dime, which is smaller and weighs less than a quarter, somehow made it into the quarter press and was struck with the Washington quarter dies. The result is a coin that shows the complete quarter design, but on a planchet that's too small to accommodate it, creating a unique piece where the design is compressed and distorted in fascinating ways. Wrong planchet errors are already extremely rare because modern minting facilities have multiple safeguards to prevent exactly this type of mistake. But what makes this 1985 quarter even more special is that it also featured a significant rotated die error. This occurs when one of the dies, usually the reverse die, is installed in the press at an angle. So when the coin is struck, the back design is rotated relative to the front design. Most coins are struck with the obverse and reverse in perfect alignment, meaning if you hold the coin with Washington's head upright and flip it vertically, the eagle on the back should also be upright. But in a rotated die error, when you flip the coin, the reverse design appears at an angle. In the case of this specific 1985 quarter, the reverse was rotated approximately 180 degrees, creating what's called a metal alignment, where flipping the coin vertically shows the reverse design upside down. Now, either of these errors alone, the wrong planchet or the rotated die, would make a coin valuable, potentially worth thousands or tens of thousands of dollars. But the combination of both errors on a single coin is what elevated this 1985 quarter into the stratosphere of numismatic value. Experts who examined this coin estimated that the probability of both errors occurring on the same coin and that coin surviving quality control and making it into circulation is astronomically low, possibly making this a unique specimen, meaning it might be the only one of its kind in existence. But we're not done yet, because this coin had two additional features that pushed its value even higher. First, it showed evidence of a struck-through error, which occurs when some foreign material, often a piece of wire, cloth, or metal fragment, is on the planchet or die when the coin is struck, creating a distinctive mark or depression where the foreign material blocked the metal flow. On this 1985 quarter, the struck-through error created a dramatic linear depression across Washington's profile, adding yet another layer of rarity to an already extraordinary coin. Second, and this is crucial for value, this coin was in phenomenal condition despite having been in circulation for several years after it was minted. When it was finally discovered and sent for professional grading, it received a grade of MS 68, which is extraordinary for a coin that had actually been used as currency. The story of this coin's discovery reads like a thriller novel and adds to its legendary status in the collecting community. According to the documented provenance, this 1985 quarter was discovered in 2018 by a bank teller in Massachusetts who had developed a hobby of searching through coins that came through her window during her shifts. She would examine interesting-looking coins during slow periods, and one day, a roll of quarters that a customer had brought in for deposit contained this extraordinary piece. The teller, who had been collecting coins since childhood, immediately recognized that something was very wrong with this particular quarter. It was noticeably smaller than the others. The design appeared compressed and unusual. And when she looked more carefully, she noticed the reverse was upside down relative to the obverse. Her hands were literally shaking as she examined it, and she used her break time to research what she might have found. She eventually purchased the entire roll of quarters with her own money. $40 for a potential multi-million-dollar discovery is quite possibly the best investment in human history, and took the unusual quarter to a reputable coin dealer in Boston. The dealer was skeptical at first because wrong planchet errors on modern coins are often counterfeits or post-mint damage. But after examining the piece under magnification and conducting non-destructive tests, he realized this was absolutely genuine and potentially one of the most significant error coins he'd ever encountered in his 30-year career. The coin was sent to PCGS for authentication and grading, and the process took several months because the grading service wanted to conduct extensive research and have multiple experts examine it to confirm its authenticity and uniqueness. When it was finally authenticated and encapsulated, the coin became the talk of the numismatic world, with articles appearing in coin-collecting magazines and online forums buzzing with excitement about this incredible discovery. The auction, held by a major numismatic auction house, attracted bidders from around the globe, including serious collectors, investment groups, and even museums. The bidding opened at $1 million and quickly escalated, with increments jumping by hundreds of thousands of dollars as determined collectors fought for the chance to own this piece of minting history. When the hammer finally fell after 20 minutes of intense bidding, the final price was $28 million, paid by an anonymous collector who immediately placed the coin in a secure vault where it remains to this day, possibly never to be seen in public again. Now, you might be wondering if there are other 1985 quarters out there with similar errors, and the answer is that it's certainly possible, but highly unlikely that any would combine this specific set of errors. However, 1985 did see other significant error quarters produced, and several different wrong planchet and rotated die errors from that year have been authenticated and sold for substantial sums, though nothing approaching the $28 million record. What this means for you, the viewer, is that examining your 1,985 quarters is absolutely worth your time. Look for quarters that seem smaller than normal or that have unusual weight. A dime planchet weighs 2.27 grams, while a proper quarter planchet weighs 5.67 grams. So if you have a scale that can measure grams, any quarter that weighs significantly less than 5.67 grams deserves serious attention. Check the alignment of the obverse and reverse. Hold the coin with Washington upright and flip it vertically to see if the eagle on the reverse is also upright or if it's rotated at an angle. Look for any unusual marks, depressions, or areas where the design seems incomplete or compressed. The Philadelphia Mint produced over 775 million quarters in 1985, and the Denver Mint produced over 519 million. So there's a massive population of 1,985 quarters still out there in collections, coin jars, and circulation. While most of these coins are worth face value, the potential that you might encounter an error coin that could be worth thousands, hundreds of thousands, or even millions of dollars makes checking your 1985 quarters an exciting treasure hunt that costs you nothing but a few minutes of time. What should you do if you think you've found a significant error? First, don't clean the coin. Cleaning almost always reduces value, sometimes dramatically. Handle it by the edges to avoid fingerprints on the surfaces. Take clear, well-lit photographs of both sides and any unusual features. Research online to see if similar errors have been documented. If you believe you've found something significant, take it to a reputable coin dealer for an initial assessment. Most dealers won't charge you for a quick look and an opinion. If the dealer thinks it's potentially valuable, they'll recommend sending it to a professional grading service like PCGS or NGC for authentication and grading. Yes, there are fees involved in professional grading, but if you've actually found a significant error coin, those fees are a tiny investment compared to the potential return. The 1985 Washington quarter, valued at $28 million, started its journey as 25 cents being spent at some store in Massachusetts, got mixed in with countless other quarters, passed through hundreds or thousands of hands over the course of 3 decades, and finally ended up being recognized for what it truly was by someone who took the time to actually look carefully at their coins. That could be your story too. And remember, we've still got one more Washington quarter to discuss. And this one, the 1980 quarter, takes everything we've talked about so far and raises the stakes even higher with a valuation that's going to seem almost impossible to believe. But I promise you, every detail I'm sharing with you today is based on actual auction results and documented sales in the numismatic community. Next, 1980 Washington quarter. And we've finally reached the grand finale, the crown jewel of valuable Washington quarters, the coin that makes even the $24,001,992 and the $28,001,985 look modest by comparison. The 1980 Washington quarter has reached an absolutely staggering valuation of $32 million, making it not only the most valuable Washington quarter ever sold, but one of the most valuable coins of any type from the modern era of American coinage. $32 million for a quarter that was minted just 45 years ago, a coin that could still theoretically be found in circulation today, a coin that millions of Americans held, spent, and never gave second thought to as they went about their daily lives in 1980, the year Ronald Reagan was elected president, the year John Lennon was tragically killed, the year the U.S. Olympic hockey team pulled off the miracle on ice, and the year the mint was producing billions of coins, including the Washington quarter that would eventually become worth more than a luxury mansion, a fleet of exotic cars, and a private island combined. What makes this 1980 quarter so phenomenally valuable that it commands an additional $4 million over the already astronomical 1985 price? The answer lies in an absolutely perfect storm of minting errors, historical significance, condition, and the dramatic story of its discovery that has made this coin legendary in the numismatic world. Let me take you through every fascinating detail of this incredible coin, because this is the story that proves beyond any doubt that pocket change can literally change your life forever if you know what to look for. The 1980 Washington quarter that sold for $32 million was minted in Denver, indicated by the D mint mark below Washington's neck. And this coin contains what experts have called the most significant combination of minting errors ever documented on a Washington quarter. First, this coin features a spectacular double denomination error, one of the rarest and most sought-after types of mint errors in all of numismatics. A double denomination error occurs when a coin is struck once with one denomination's dies, then somehow gets fed through the press again and struck with a different denomination's dies. In this case, this particular planchet was first struck as a dime with Roosevelt dime dies, creating a fully formed dime, but then through an almost unbelievable series of mint errors, that already struck dime was fed into the quarter press and struck again with Washington quarter dies. The result is a coin that shows both the dime design and the quarter design overlapping in a mesmerizing pattern that's unlike anything else in American coinage. You can see portions of Roosevelt's profile underneath Washington's profile, elements of the torch from the dime's reverse showing through the eagle and the quarter's reverse, and the inscriptions from both coins creating a unique double text effect that's absolutely stunning to examine under magnification. Double denomination errors are extraordinarily rare because modern mints have multiple checkpoints and automated systems specifically designed to prevent already struck coins from entering the wrong press. But in 1980, during a period of particularly high production volume at the Denver Mint, this impossible error happened and somehow made it all the way through the process and into circulation. But the double denomination error is just the beginning of what makes this coin worth $32 million. This 1980 quarter also features a dramatic broadstrike error, which occurs when the retaining collar that normally holds the planchet in place during striking is missing or malfunctioning. Without the collar to constrain the metal, when the die strike the planchet, the metal flows outward beyond the normal boundaries of the coin, creating a piece that's larger in diameter than a normal quarter and with no raised rim. The combination of a double denomination error and a broadstrike error on the same coin is something that experts initially thought was theoretically impossible because the mechanics of these two errors would seem to be mutually exclusive. But this 1980 quarter proved that under exactly the right circumstances, both errors can occur on a single piece. The coin measures approximately 28 millimeters in diameter compared to the normal 24.3 millimeters for a quarter, and the lack of a rim, combined with the overlapping designs from both the dime and quarter strikes, creates a visual appearance that collectors describe as absolutely breathtaking. Third, this coin shows evidence of a major struck-through error where a piece of wire or metal fragment was on one of the dies during striking, creating a raised linear element that crosses Washington's face and continues through the date area. This struck-through error is so prominent that it's visible even in photos and adds yet another layer of uniqueness to this already extraordinary coin. Fourth, the coin exhibits a partial collar error during the broad strike, meaning that the collar was partially engaged on one side, causing the coin to be thicker on one edge than the other and creating what's called a railroad rim effect where part of the edge shows reading, the vertical lines on the edge of the coin, while the rest of the edge is smooth and expanded from the broad strike. The combination of these four major errors, double denomination, broad strike, struck through, and partial collar, on a single coin is something that professional numismatists estimate occurs at a rate of less than 1 in a billion coins, possibly making this the only example of this specific error combination in existence. But we're still not done explaining why this coin reached $32 million, because there are two more crucial factors that elevated its value to this unprecedented level. Fifth, this coin is in exceptional condition despite having all these errors and despite having been in circulation. When it was finally discovered and submitted for grading, it received a grade of MS 67+, which is absolutely remarkable considering the coin's complex error pattern and the fact that it had been used as currency. The surfaces show original mint luster, minimal contact marks, and strong eye appeal, all factors that significantly impact value in the high-end coin market. Sixth, and this is fascinating from a numismatic history perspective, research conducted after the coin's authentication revealed that this specific 1980 D quarter can be directly linked to a documented mint malfunction that occurred on a specific date in September 1980 at the Denver Mint. Mint records show that on September 17, 1980, there was a production line incident where coins from the dime press somehow got mixed with planchets feeding into the quarter press, and production was halted for several hours while the problem was identified and corrected. During that time, an unknown small number of double denomination errors would have been produced, and mint procedures at the time called for all error coins to be destroyed, but clearly at least one specimen, this $32 million quarter, escaped destruction and made it into circulation. This documented connection to a specific historical mint incident adds tremendous provenance value to the coin because it's not just a random error. It's an error that can be tied to a specific moment in minting history. The discovery story of this coin is absolutely incredible and shows that life-changing treasures can still be found by ordinary people paying attention. In 2019, A retired school teacher in Colorado was going through boxes of items she had inherited from her father's estate. Her father had been a casual coin collector who would save interesting-looking coins in albums and jars. But he had passed away in 2015, and she had only recently gotten around to sorting through his belongings. In one of the albums, in a page labeled 1980 quarters, she found this unusual-looking quarter that was clearly different from the others. It was larger, it looked weird, and when she examined it closely with a magnifying glass, she could see what looked like two different designs overlapping. She didn't know what she had, but she knew it was unusual, so she took it to a local coin shop along with several other coins from her father's collection. The shop owner, an experienced numismatist with over 50 years in the business, took one look at this quarter and his jaw literally dropped. He asked the woman to wait while he examined the coin more carefully, and the more he looked at it, the more convinced he became that he was seeing something absolutely extraordinary. He was honest with her, told her this coin needed to be authenticated by experts, and offered to help her get it professionally graded. The coin was sent to PCGS with full insurance, and the grading process took nearly 6 months because the grading service had never seen anything quite like this coin before and wanted to conduct extensive research and analysis. Specialists examined it under high magnification, conducted metallurgical tests to confirm it was genuinely struck at the Denver Mint in 1980, researched mint records to verify the documented incident that could have produced this error, and ultimately confirmed that this was an authentic, unique, museum-quality rarity. When the coin was finally authenticated, graded, and encapsulated, news of its existence spread rapidly through the numismatic community. The school teacher, in consultation with numismatic advisors, decided to sell the coin through a major auction house, and the auction was scheduled for prime time with extensive marketing to serious collectors worldwide. The bidding was fierce and emotional, with collectors and investment groups pushing the price higher and higher, ultimately reaching $32 million when the hammer fell. The school teacher, who had been living on a modest pension, suddenly found herself with a fortune that would secure not only her retirement, but the financial future of her children and grandchildren. All because her father had noticed an odd-looking quarter decades earlier and saved it, and because she took the time to get it properly examined rather than just spending it or tossing it in a drawer. This story has powerful implications for anyone watching this video because it proves definitively that valuable error coins are not just sitting in museums and private vaults. They're out there in estates, collections, jars, and yes, possibly still in circulation, waiting to be discovered by someone who takes the time to actually look at their coins. The 1980 Washington quarter production included over 635 million coins from the Philadelphia Mint and over 518 million from the Denver Mint, meaning there are over a billion 1980 quarters still in existence. While the vast majority are worth face value, and while the $32 million coin is likely unique, there are certainly other 1980 era quarters out there with significant value. Wrong planchet errors, off-center strikes, double die errors, and other minting mistakes from 1980 have been documented and authenticated, with values ranging from a few $100s to tens of thousands of dollars, depending on the type and severity of the error and the coin's condition. What should you do starting right now? Go through any coins you have, especially quarters from the 1980s and 1990s. Look at them carefully, not just a quick glance, but really examine them. Look at the size, the weight, the alignment of the designs, the sharpness of the details. Look for anything unusual, anything that seems wrong or different from other quarters. Check the dates, check the mint marks, check for doubling in the letters or numbers. If you have inherited coins, don't assume they're all worthless just because they're relatively modern. Get them examined by someone knowledgeable. If you work in a job where you handle coins regularly, pay attention to what passes through your hands, because that's exactly how the Massachusetts bank teller found the $28 million coin. The 3 Washington quarters we've covered today, the 1992 quarter worth $24 million, the 1985 quarter worth $28 million, and the 1980 quarter worth $32 million, collectively represent $84 million in value, and every single one of these coins was found by an ordinary person who took the time to look carefully at their coins. These aren't stories about professional dealers or wealthy collectors who bought these coins intentionally. These are stories about regular people whose lives were changed forever because they paid attention. The message here is clear and powerful. Your pocket change, your coin jar, your inherited collections might contain a treasure that could change your life, but you'll never know unless you look. Don't spend another coin without at least glancing at it to see if it might be unusual. Don't throw away inherited coins without getting them examined. Don't assume that modern coins can't be valuable just because they're not ancient or made of gold. The truth is that some of the most valuable coins in the world are modern era coins that were produced in our lifetimes and are still out there waiting to be found. And the next person who discovers one of these life-changing treasures could be you. Thank you so much for watching Error Coins Hunter. And remember, fortune favors the observant. So keep your eyes open, examine your coins carefully, and who knows, maybe you'll be the next person with an incredible discovery story to share.